Assalamu alaikum. My name is Salim Siddiqui, and thanks for watching this continuing series on the hotconflict.com website. We're talking about the unseen, and if you've been watching this series, we've been addressing the situation of the supernatural and the spiritual and discussing some of the understandings of the scriptures and spiritual enlightenment path from the original text, and looking at the situation that led us to the time of Noah. Well, many people are talking about the ascension or the coming changes of the earth, or the ascension of the earth itself, or the coming dark shift or changes of the sun rising in the west, the coming 2012 prophecies, and so many different people are talking about different things. So we're trying to put all of these subjects into light, and we're looking at the time of Noah. Well, we ended the last video talking about the fundamental change that occurred after the creation of man and the descent of man after the fall onto the earth, and the subsequent deception of Lucifer or Satan with Cain and Abel and our mother and father Adam and Eve, and the ongoing struggle that continued down. And we said that one of the things that changed in our story is that Lucifer requested permission to interfere with our race, to violate what is the most oldest fundamental law of the universe that has always existed, the prime directive, the law of non-interference, the idea that all races don't have any interference from the other unseen realms, that each race must progress individually on their own, and that only beings who are ready and spiritually ready for advancement understood the next levels of spiritual ascension, that there was not going to be any interference. But because the challenge was made that mankind was going to be Khalifa, was going to be ruler, was going to be overseer, was going to be the most superior creation made by the hand of God over all races, over all of creation, over all that exist. The enlightened sons of Adam, the enlightened man, was going to be the most superior because of their position of being Khalifatullah, those who continue to serve out as Allah's servants in existence, upon righteousness, upon the path, in service to others. This is the true essence of Adam Kadmon. Well, the challenge was put down, and because of that, we know that mankind faced continuing challenges. But because the changes in the prime directive or the law of non-interference, many races interacted with mankind. There was interaction on a huge level. See, we always fail to understand the proper perspective because we think in time that all of this happened previous to us, and that therefore technology must have been at a lower level. You see, if you understand the fundamental change, and you understand that a different pattern was now occurring on what we call Earth, that because of that challenge up above, mankind faced a barrage of experiences, both positive and negative. But many of the higher races realized, as part of their test, that as they began to interact with the sons of Adam, even the most noble of other races, who taught great and spiritual knowledge, later on over time ended up being falsely worshipped as gods. What all of the more superior advanced races understood is that the reason why we don't violate the prime directive, the reason why we have the law of non-interference, is because every time we do violate it, those who are not ready end up misunderstanding the message and the truth of the fact that we all only worship the one Creator ends up getting lost. And the dark side never gives up on their struggle to violate the prime directive or the law of non-interference. And so we know that any good, unless it is destined at its appropriate time, because those of faith have followed the signs and understood what they are supposed to have done, ends up causing greater chaos and more fractures in the fractal of what is supposed to be perfection of all that is. And so as many of the brothers and sisters of light in the family of light from many of the other races started to realize that there were problems, but many races didn't care. And with the advancement of society and abundance and changes and technology, many of the people, by the time we get to our beloved prophet Noah, peace and blessings of the Lord be upon him, the idea of remembering the oneness of God had been lost. Now, that isn't to say that people were not having greater advancement. Now, here is what most people fail to understand. Before the time of Noah, understanding that there was other races and understanding that there was other beings was commonplace. Now, brothers and sisters from the Christian community will say the idea that beings from the skies, other races, had come, and even interaction was so common that they had begun to sexually reproduce with the sons of man. This is what they're talking about when they say children of angels, that they then refer to as Nephilim. Now we know that angels of the light do not have reproductive organs. They are not male and female. They are genderless. They do not have free will. So when we're talking about beings, we're talking about both humanoid and jinn beings that are within the universe, from higher realms and other planets and other dimensions and other societies throughout all of existence, interacting with Earth, and beings of free will, both benevolent and malevolent. And see, this is the area that gets confusing for people, is you have different societies, different civilizations, different alien races of many different kinds, because most people fail to recognize that all of these other races existed before the creation of Adam. And so, or before this time period of descent of Adam as we now know it. Time, the whole elusive story, is something that we're not going to get into today. But the concept of understanding that a lot of these other races existed before us, and that there is even other levels of heavens and other earths and other Adams and other Abrahams and other even final messengers or Muhammads to other civilizations that all occurred before our final messenger Muhammad here on this earth. To understand all this in context, you have to see that many races were interacting with the people before the time of Noah. That many races were sexually interacting with the children of Adam. So much so that the offspring of all of the sons of Adam had intermixed with many other races, and humans were spread all across the lands, not just the lands of the earth, but lands throughout the universe from that time, my brothers and sisters, because we were having interaction both positive and negative. But eventually we got to a stage where all of the beings on the earth had left monotheistic oneness of understanding, and that all of the enlightened beings, or beings upon the truth of the light, were no longer upon the earth, because they had realized that they should not have violated the rules of the law of the prime directive, for it wasn't time, if any of these things occurred. And because all of us know that we're getting very close to the timings of first contact and what we're now calling first contact for our modern day and age, and many of the beings from many of the different races who we call enlightened now are going to come and tell us stories about different time periods in their past and different members of their race who interacted with our society in different times. And some of the times the stories are not going to be so easy to swallow, and we're going to have to deal with a lot of past baggage of many of these races, and many of the beings who are interacting and communicating with those who are in the Lightworker community now have been expressing this truth to you, that you must understand, that they have been trying to reinforce this concept to you, that now that they are talking about coming again, they don't want to see the same flaw in those of us here falsely attributing to them any godlike properties or any false attributions of deity. They don't want us to fall into the same traps. And they have already admitted that they have made mistakes with us in the past. And some of these things are now becoming more and more clear to people in the enlightenment community or on the ascension path. And so when we talk about Noah specifically, we go back to the text and we understand. Now, one of the things that I'm going to do is, because today we're going to do a couple of interesting things on harmonics, it's important because we're talking about where you get your knowledge from and the importance of understanding that you're looking for people on the earth who are expressing themselves in the vein of truth, who are claiming to be on the light. And this is one of the issues that, of course, I'm having to reinforce, because many people out there claim to be upon the light, or light workers, or claim to understand what they're talking about. And perhaps they understand a segment of the story and they're expressing that truth, but oftentimes they are misunderstanding some of the things that are happening on a larger scale. And so one of the things that I do for you is explain things to you in a larger scale so that you can see the big picture. And because one of the issues that often comes up amongst light workers is harmonics or frequency or vibration or the actual feeling of the light, since one of the most important issues that we're claiming is that those who are calling themselves Muslim, as I am, and saying that we have the very word of Allah given to us in the Quran and the method of the final messenger, the final light worker assigned by Allah to this planet, Muhammad, seal of the prophets, we're saying that if you understand what this means, especially those in the light worker community who are understanding channelings, the prophet received the channeling from the archangel Gabriel, from the very creator of all that is, to Gabriel, the very word spoken by the creator in the original language of Arabic that was chosen for the very final word. Now, if you understand that conceptually, then if you are upon the path of light, if you're calling yourself a light worker, or a wayshower, or a starseed, or a path shower, or a rainbow warrior, or an ascended master, or an ascension seeker, or any of these spiritual concepts, if you're someone who meditates or is on the path or does light work or sound work or tone work or vibrational work, and you can hear tone or feel vibration, then forget about all the naysayers in the world who are talking about Islam and Muslims as the enemy. You should be able to hear the original language of the Arabic and see if you feel the vibration. And so I'm going to start reading from the Arabic surah, or the chapter from the Quran, the very words of the Creator in the original language, channeled to the Archangel Gabriel, to the Prophet Muhammad, and then memorized word for word by all of the Muslims all over the world. The chapter is obviously called Noah, the very prophet that we're talking about. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أرسلنا نوحا إلى قومه أن أنذر قومك من قبل أن يأتيهم عذاب أليم قال يا قوم إني لكم نذير مبين أن اعبدوا الله واتقوه وأطيعون يغفر لكم من ذنوبكم ويؤخركم إلى أجل مسمى إن أجل الله إذا جاء لا يؤخر لو كنتم تعلمون. I'll read the translation from you for the rest of the verses. Verily we sent Noah to his people saying, warn your people before there comes to them the painful time of torment. He, Noah, said, O my people, verily to you I am a plain and open warner, that you should worship Allah, the Creator alone, and be dutiful to Him, and obey me in what I am telling you. He, the Lord Most High, will forgive you of your sins and respite you for an appointed term. Verily, the terms of Allah, when it comes, it cannot be delayed, if you but understood. He said, O my Lord, verily I have called my people night and day, but all of the calling that I have done brought them nothing closer to the truth, and they always fled. And verily every time I called unto them that you might forgive them, they put their fingers in their ears and covered themselves up with their garments and persisted in their refusal and magnified themselves only in their pride. And O my Lord, Noah said, I called to them openly and out loud. And verily it's true that I proclaimed it to them in public. And then I went to them in secret and appealed to them in private. And I said to them, ask of your Lord, for your Lord is most forgiving, and He is most merciful. And He will send to you rain in abundance, and give you increases in children and wealth, and bestow upon you gardens, and bestow upon you rivers. What is the matter with you, O my people, that you don't hope for the reward from the true Lord? You see, you have to understand, my brothers and sisters who are there calling yourselves light workers and wayshowers, that my brother Noah, how hard it was for him to imagine for 950 years calling the people to the light and recognizing that the changes were coming, being someone who could read the signs of the times, look at the weather and the patterns and know, and communicating spiritually and understanding between that dialogue of the heart and the soul between him and his Creator, and knowing that the changes were coming and warning everybody around him. Like many people are talking about right now, seeing the signs around you, and Noah communicating with the animals, being able to understand their vibration, their frequency. Like many people are talking about now. Sounding a little bit crazy, it's true, like many people claimed he was. But imagine being one of the few, one of the only ones upon all of the earth, and calling people for so long, and no one is listening to you? And sometimes it's true, my brothers and sisters, we hesitate like I hesitate for so long just to do this videos, just to admit what so many people are admitting. But sometimes we hesitate even to speak our truth when we should be openly spreading it to everyone we know and love, if it is the truth from our hearts, if we don't have doubts. And Noah was trying to express this truth. What is the matter with you, O people, he said, that you don't hope for the reward of truth that you were promised? Well, He, the Creator, has created you out of different kinds and different stages. See, Noah said to his people, that He, the Lord Allah, has created 7 heavens, one above the other. He already knew at that time, and they already understood that there were many levels of ascended masters and beings at different levels of the heavens. See, Noah said, that He has made the moon a light therein, and He has made the sun a shining lamp. And Allah, the Lord, the Creator, brought forth from the dusts of the earths all of you that are man, and afterward He is going to return you to the dust of the earth, and then resurrect you back out of it again into the true eternal life. And Allah has made the world wide for you and allowed you to spread forth amongst this land and all of the others, that you may go therein amongst all of the roads and paths. And Noah said, My Lord, they have disobeyed me and followed ones whose wealth and children give them no increase but only loss. You see, the time had come where so much misguidance had been occurring that none of the true sons of Adam remained except for Noah and a few of the remaining pure blood, that the lines had been mixed with so many of the other races, that the idea now changed, that the corruption of man had occurred so deeply that for man to then now go on to their path of ascension, a cleaning out of the whole of the earth had to occur. A resetting, a rebooting, a rechecking of the system. So drastic was the situation, so much violation of the law of non-interference, so much interaction and offspring of races of all different kind, that the idea that anyone of original pure blood from the sons of Adam or any of the original races of pure faith even remained was lost. That Noah finally expressed his desire. He said, "Oh my Lord, all that I have talked to, everyone who I have spoken to, in every way, both open and in secret, and I've gone to them to try and explain to them about the light. I've done it in private, I've done it in public, I've done it every single way, my brothers and sisters, O light workers. I've gone to them all, and they have all rejected it. They have disobeyed me and followed the path of the others, those who would give them children and wealth and increase them only but in loss. And they have plotted a mighty plot. Those who deceive and plot plots, they have plotted a mighty plot. And they have said, you shall not leave your gods, nor shall you leave Wa'ad, nor Suwa, nor Yaghuth, nor Ya'uq, nor Nasra. These are various idols and false gods that had been prominent at the time. And indeed they have led many astray, Noah said. O Lord, grant no increase to the disbelievers, save increase in error. Because of their sins, they were drowned, and then were made to enter the fire, and they found none to help them instead or other than Allah, the one who created them. And Noah said, O my Lord, leave not one of the disbelievers upon the earth. If you leave them, they will mislead your slaves, and they will beget none but wicked disbelievers. My Lord, forgive me and my parents, and him who enters my home as a believer, and all believing men and women, and to the disbelievers, grant you no increase, but in destruction." This is the surah from the Quran on Noah. You see, what Noah understood is that things had gotten so desperate and so bad, and the bloodline and the future and the fate and the plan and plot of those who deceived and the dark ones had corrupted everything to such a degree that the idea of continuing was lost, and that everything had to be erased. And the idea of interacting at all with the other races was wiped out again. And that the concept of non-interference was reenacted from this point on forever until it was the end. Until it was the end. And this is the reason why none of the beings of the light have openly ever come to the earth again. And this is the reason why all of the preachers and pastors and ministers and prophets have all taught their people to stay away from the other races, to stay away from beings of the other dimension, to leave off anything to do with them. And those who are devout and those who are pious have always maintained the law of non-interference. We don't interfere with the realm of the unseen or the world of the Jinn or the alam al-ghayb and the unseen world. And they who are of faith from that side should not interfere with us. Those who do interfere with us are always of the dark, and we ask the Lord Most High to protect us. The law of non-interference is reinstated, and it should never be abrogated again. This is the lesson behind the story of Noah. This is the reason why the flood occurs. This is the reason why Noah makes the challenge. This is the reason why the Quran and Allah confirms that even the offspring of any of them would not be pure of light, that the destruction had to be to such a greater degree. Now, in the larger picture, something deep is happening. Unlike the normal timeline of ascension for most planets, where most races and most civilizations go through a period of the first of them to ascend, and then slowly period of prophets, as all races and civilizations have their own prophets and timelines, and they get to the point where destruction leads them to a rising out of a society. We, as the sons of Adam, as the children of Adam, get to a point where we have Noah making a prayer that leads to the destruction of all of the earth. And that changes things fundamentally for our race for all time. You see, the story of the deluge remains a fundamental of all prophets of the light that they reiterate all the way down to the final messenger Muhammad. But the story of the deluge remains a fundamental for all of the other races of the other realms that they recognize, to reinstate that interference should not occur on this, the planet Earth. And they have been waiting patiently for the time of the awakening of people upon the earth when it was appropriate to interact again. But that doesn't happen at the time of Noah. And that doesn't happen after the time of Noah. After the times of Noah, things change, and a cut-off from the other realm occurs, and the fate of mankind is destined to go deeper into darkness. But because we're talking about Noah, and because we talk about some interesting things, I wanted to talk about a specific concept. Of course, on the Hot Conflict Show, one of the things I like to do is always give you stuff that's totally out there and weird. And because I said, as someone who's on the ascension path or explaining some of these concepts, we talk about both the past and the future and what this means. And so, for example, many of those who call themselves light workers are trying to express themselves in different ways and show people the path. One of the things that I have to do in the way I express this story is explain what happened in the past, what the scriptures mean in a larger context, and how they relate to us. Now, in the current timeline that we are in, there are many people who have made the conscious choice to seek the path of ascension, who are seeking oneness, who are pure of heart, who are making the effort to learn, and they are doing different things. And I say, by the plan of Allah, that those of you who are listening to this, it is destined by the very fact that you are hearing it, that you have chose to listen to this. And that in and of itself is deep, and therefore there is something that connects all of us. And there are those who understand that those who have chosen a path of ascension have been given the glad tidings of that path, and understand that they have been saved from possible tests and trials that are to come. Now, when I speak about some of these things, many people who are on the Lightworker path say, oh, no, you're talking about things of of fear and destruction and some of the tribulations, and therefore you don't understand that we've time shifted all of that. Yes, it is true that many of us who understand trials and tribulations have seen the light and understand what we're searching for and have ascended beyond ourselves. And what we're talking about in a deep essence is transmuting beyond fear of even death, transmuting the concept of death to ascend what we would call in Arabic terms jihad an-nafs, to ascend beyond the self. The transmuting or the ascension process of the self, well, that is one of the things that's talked about in a spiritual nature with the whole process of the flood of Noah. The saving yourself during the destruction of mankind. Now, many people talking about this current time talk about fear and destruction, and so, of course, I want to stay away from the concepts of fear and destruction. And of course, those who are listening to me, those of you who are attuned to it, should be able to hear from my voice as I'm trying too hard not to laugh and giggle out loud here, that of course we're talking about love and peace and an understanding at a deeper level. And so there are those who understand this pattern from a spiritual nature, the story of Noah as a archetype that people might have to experience. Now, there are those who as of yet have not figured out their own personal journey. Now, the personal journey of Noah as a classical archetype is one that people are experiencing. People are having the desire to build arcs. There are ark projects or boat projects or ship projects, or people who have this thought that there are changes coming, that there will be global changes and natural changes and catastrophic changes and possibly floods like we have not seen since the time of Noah. And some of this is true, but a lot of what people are experiencing, especially in the lightworker community, is trying to educate people that they should not be in fear. And so what I need to explain to people is, for those people who understand that they have been chosen and they have seen signs, and for whatever reason there are synchronicities occurring in your life, and there are those people who are out there who are promoting projects, or for whatever reason a catastrophe or a calamity occurs as part of your life journey, and it involves this process of getting on a ship or an ark or going on this journey. Then of course there are even things from pop culture that relate to this. Of course, some Hollywood movies that have come out recently in a comedic fashion to do the Noah's Ark descriptions and showing some of the same concepts that many light workers talk about, the idea of being in tune with nature, and even in a comedic sense, communing with animals, and how that could also be funny and spiritual. Animals do have a very funny nature about them, and so that's there in some of the comedic movies that you've seen that depict Noah. But it's also there in the resonance that when people talk about the harmonic convergence of the 80s and 90s that occurs in some of the music that we talk about. And since I described the Quran, I wanted to say also that you hear it in songs and even things from pop culture. And because we like to talk about this concept, today I want to talk about specifically this idea that those who are destined to follow up this idea of getting on an ark or getting on a ship, those who that is part of your ascension journey and you're recognizing that, then specifically today for you, I want to talk about this concept of navigation. Now, depending on what process you are in your journey and how time is working for you, you can be at various stages of building your ship or your ark or your vessel or your idea that is part of your process or spiritual journey. Now, for many people, the idea of building something is part of the process, and getting your family and loved ones and expressing that and promoting your project or idea is part of the process of the journey for you. But specifically because I like to give people information here that is different than other people, I wanted to explain some of the concepts on a global side of understanding that if you are destined to play out that Noah archetype, then understand that just like Prophet Noah, it is sometimes hard to get people to understand your mission and your journey. And just like Noah, he had people close to him in his family that did not see the light. And all of us have these journeys that we have to get through. And so understand this as you're going through the process. Now, if you actually get to the point where you're out there on the water, you need to understand something fundamental, because people are talking about changes in the earth, changes in the water, changes in navigation, changes in magnetic poles, changes in the whole structure of the earth. And depending at what time and what process and what phase you are in, you could be experiencing a whole verge of different things. And so again, I quote from you from the Quran, رب المشرقين ورب المغربين فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان مرج البحرين يلتقيان بينهما برزخ لا يبغيان. The Lord, in Surah Ar-Rahman, the most merciful, the Lord is describing some of the miracles of creation. And he says, the Lord of the two easts and the Lord of the two wests, referring both to the earth, both in one situation of the east, in one alignment, and one situation, another situation of the east, and another situation of the west, and another situation of the west. So which of the favors of your Lord can you deny? Maraj al-Bahraini, the one who brings forth the two flowing rivers of water that meet in the seas, but between them is an invisible barrier or an unintangible barrier, a realm or a veil that you can't understand, that allows the waters to not transgress between each other. So if you find yourself caught, right? What did we say? I want to give you specific information. I like to give you light worker information. If I'm supposed to show you things or tell you things, you need information that you can really use. If you find yourself out on the water and you're dealing with changes in magnetic poles, you might have a problem using navigation. If you find yourself dealing with changes in water channels and structure of the earth, you might find yourself not being able to recognize where you are in the water. So how do you figure out which way do you go? Now, no matter where you are in the earth, no matter what the shifts or changes that are happening, you should focus on what is the fundamental that is always the sign for all light workers in this dimension of physicality. There's your hint. The fundamental is always water. There is in the salt water of the oceans pure flowing waters. And so for those of you who find yourself lost at sea and searching for a way, look for water. It's as simple as not relying on your navigation as heading into the direction that you think is what? You have a choice between going south or north. And because you're listening to me, I'm hoping that you're trusting my opinion enough to know that you want to head north. You want to head north. And how you test yourself is you look for pure water. And you can find pure water channels in salt water, and you can do it just by drinking it. And once you find pure water, you want to find that channel and head towards the north. Now, if you find yourself doing that, then you'll understand that you could possibly find yourself into channels of pure water and maybe lead yourself into an opening in physicality towards a spiritual progression towards the north, in towards the hollow earth, in towards many of the other journeys. The other thing that you have to deal with is the journey itself being the test. And depending on what phase you are, before the ascension, after the ascension, that dying is part of ascension. That many people think, oh, I'm looking to ascend, and that is going to another stage beyond this life, and that sometimes knowing that transmuting death is dying in and of itself, and the concept that we call shaheed, or being a martyr in Islam, occurs many ways, by obviously on a battlefield giving yourself in the cause of a just and noble fight. That is a whole other political conversation that we're not getting into, but by defending yourself or defending your honor, defending your family, dying through disease, dying in a natural catastrophe, drowning at sea, for those who are talking about water, in an earthquake, all these other natural disasters are considered causes that the Lord has deemed appropriate to take a soul in a noble status. A natural catastrophe or an accident or something as insignificant that we might think of as a car accident is a natural catastrophe deemed by God to take a soul. These people are all considered shuhada, those who are of the faith, who believed in God, who were taken by natural catastrophes, right? Natural disasters. Now, dying upon the sea and drowning is also that. But you have to understand that those who are of faith are always telling you that you must understand that at any point in the process, those who are enlightened are trying to tell you at any point in the process, from building the boat, for having to get onto the sea, from being at that last moment of struggle and deciding possibly to help another instead of yourself, to be in the service of others in that last struggling moment at sea, to be lost and trying to find water, to finding that pure water to drink, to finding the right way. Depending on where you go in your journey, you have at any moment the choice to find another path, and at any moment the door can open for you as soon as you're ready to decide that you no longer need to take that journey and you're ready to admit that anything can happen for you. If you understand where this leads as possibly in a journey via pure waters to a hollow earth, or to a stage beyond death, and you're willing to let go of the world and give it all up for a belief that you're finding a true path upon the sea, to having angels come and take your soul away as a person upon the path, journey of enlightenment that he understood from our brother of light, Noah. And as a believer in the fundamentals of faith, we believe in all the prophets of light, right? We understand what is the deeper meaning of their story. And so because of all these things, I wanted to bring to you some of the lyrics of a famous song that talks about this concept and even closes with the supernatural concept of what many of my brothers and sisters know is one of the pathways that leads out of this world to the next. This fake matrix, this non-reality to the true reality of the afterlife. Of any of those who are upon the ascension path will guarantee you that there is more going on than you can understand. And those of us who are upon the light are telling you the light does not need to be bought and sold. It exists in everything around you. And I always like to tell you, it is there in the stories. It is there in the tales. It is there in the cultures. It is there in the ancient scriptures. It is there in the words of all of the prophets and all the books. It is there in the movies. It is there on TV. And it is even there in the songs. And because we like to talk about pop culture and even American pop culture, because it is there in the perfection of all that exists. And because you're watching the HotConflict.com video series on the unseen and talking about the significance of the harmonic convergence, I gotta say, being a Muslim who grew up in America, who understands rock and roll, it's there in rock and roll. Great words sung by great poets and great music. I'm sailing away, set up open course for the virgin sea. I've got to be free, free to face the life that's ahead of me. On board, I'm the captain, so climb aboard. We'll search for tomorrow on every shore, and I'll try Oh Lord, I'll try to carry on. I look to the sea. Reflections in the waves spark my memory. Some happy, some sad. I think of childhood friends and the dreams we had. We live happily forever, so the story goes. But somehow we missed out on that pot of gold. But we'll try, best that we can, to carry on. You see, the stories are always there and the music's always there. If you can feel the vibration as strongly as I'm feeling it right now, then you can understand that if you're understanding harmonic frequencies, that words and music will only be aligned when they perfectly balance that nature, then you will know that after I finish reading this, you can go and listen to this song and understand these words, and it'll relate to you the deepness of the meaning that I've told you. And if you find yourselves lost, you will understand what the beauty of the frequency of the song and the words of the song, and even the band telling it to you to come sail away on those seas as our brothers and sisters who understand. If you didn't understand, if you've never understood it, if you've never heard it before, or if you've always been a fan of those who know how to get across the river Styx. If you've listened to the song before and understood its meaning, from now on, this is your wake-up call. A gathering of angels appeared above my head. They sang to me this song of hope, and this is what they said. They said, come sail away, come sail away, come sail away with me. Come sail away, come sail away, come sail away with me. Come sail away, come sail away, come sail away with me. And then it goes straight into the supernatural, and it's right there. I thought that they were angels, but to my surprise, they climbed aboard their starship and headed for the skies, singing, come sail away, come sail away, come sail away with me. Assalamu alaikum, peace.